Hello guys, welcome to a new type of video that I wanted to do for quite a while now. Thanks to Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, now it's a great time to talk about the game that changed my view of gaming. You see, when I was young, I believed that gaming was enjoyable when only playing with friends. Games like SSX3, Time Splitters, Eye-to-Eye Play, Crash Racing, Dragon Ball Shin Budokai Tenkaichi 3 and others were my go-to. I did experience a few single-player games, but most of them I played live to live with my friends in both Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and in PlayStation 2. Nevertheless, after Crisis Core, things change. I never experienced such a game before. I know in the past I mentioned how Kingdom Hearts were games I played since the PlayStation 2 era, but the difference was that in Kingdom Hearts, I legit bought the game because of Donald Duck being in the cover, and when I played it, I didn't speak English as well, due to the fact that English is not my birth language. I didn't understand much of the plot, but hey, it was Disney everywhere, that's enough for me. As for the core gameplay, all I knew was that big numbers equal big damage, and that if the cutscene showed me a door or a window or anything else, then that was where I was meant to go. I barely understood the story, and it wasn't until I read the manga or replayed the games that I understood Kingdom Hearts, which was like years later. Anyway, back to Crisis Core. You see, a friend of mine had the game and he sold it to me because he was getting rid of his PSP and I requested for the game for the amount that he wanted. I began playing the game and I was astonished by the game, the CGI cutscenes, the music and overall the combat. I loved both the character of Zack Fair, the playable hero of the game, and Genesis because he was this red-haired swordsman with every scene he appeared on. He held a poem book called The Love Ledge, which he loved to quote and represent it like it was his life. He had a shining sword, he had everything good for him, and he was red, which is my favorite color. And I know that some other people hate him, but hey, for me, he was like the best thing I saw in there. I also remember that I was stuck near the end where you have to fight Genesis Rhapsodos, because I couldn't beat him. Few months went by and my school arranged a trip from our country to France. The final night of our stay, my friends all met in a room to spend time together, but I didn't join them because I had a terrible headache. I remember telling my roommate that I'll have a shower and then I'll take one pill and fall asleep. However, I couldn't fall asleep and thus I opened my PSP and said, you know what, let's go back to Final Fantasy. For the first time ever, I defeated Genesis' final form, and what came afterwards was just pain and tears. In none of my previous games have I ever met with such an amazing ending, both gameplay and cinematic wise. For those who played the game, know what happened, and even for those who were aware of the original Final Fantasy VII, knew what happened to both Zack and Cloud. Well, I didn't. I was shocked. Every time the song Why by Aya plays, I have the cinematic in my brain and my eyes just get water, man. It's such a good cinematic. That night, I was crying a lot and I couldn't control it, and things became worse when my roommate walked in our room to get something that he had forgotten. He feared that something happened to me and he wanted to go and wake our teachers in order to come and see me. I had to tell him not to do so, but I also didn't want to admit that I was crying because of the game. He then said, you know what, I'll visit you again at some point in order to make sure that you are alright. Thankfully, when he came back, I was sort of more relaxed. Honestly, ever since Crisis Core, I came to appreciate storytelling games as much as multiplayer games, and that's why I treasured the game so much that I actually own 4 physical copies in case anything happened to my spare ones. Even in Final Fantasy VII Remake, I was delighted to see Zack's inclusion early on in the game, but also shocked by the outcome of the ending. Zack's inclusion in other media always makes me happy, and they keep his character very similar. He always dreams of becoming a hero, and he always has a smile and positive mindset, even when things don't look good for him. In Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, he faces against Hercules in order to become a hero. He loses and says that, you know what, next year I'll be back and I'll be stronger. He even smiles when he loses to Terra, as he knows that herohood won't come easy, and he idolizes Terra because that's how he thinks that heroes should look. He even asks Aqua for a date, very similar to how he did with Aerith. In Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, Zack is back and he joins the heroes, including Cloud, for an adventure where he knows that if they were to succeed, he'll die, which he responds with a smile as he says that everything he did was worth it. Seeing how Cloud is still alive and he's surrounded by people that loved him means a lot to him. After all, Cloud is Zack's living legacy and he's living for the both of them. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion is said to be a remaster of that unique game, and I cannot wait to experience it one more time in HD. The characters look spot on, and they use models similar to those of the remake, and everything that was shown in the trailer can actually be found in the PSP, indicating that this game is in fact a remaster. They did say that new to the Reunion will be that all the moments where there was written dialogue, they will be in fact voice acted, and that the gameplay will look a bit similar to the remake but also be very close to Crisis Core, which is something I'm genuinely looking forward to. Furthermore, they said that new songs will be added and new remix of old songs will also be there. However, I genuinely hope, and I genuinely hope, that songs like The Price of Freedom, The Apple Tree, and of course I As Y will stay as they were in the original. These are iconic songs that made Crisis Core Crisis Core. I genuinely cannot wait to have a review made for this game in a few months from now. The game is set to be released this winter. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, even though it wasn't a review nor a gameplay. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. If you want to see my gaming reviews, you can always visit my website, link below, or check my playlist for some of the games that you might be interested, once again, links below. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next one. See ya!